So a special unit is being set up in the South African Police Services to deal with the so-called construction mafia. The announcement was made by President Cyril Ramaphosa last week. The group uses fear and intimidation to get their claws into the pockets of small businesses. They demand a protection fee, what they call a protection fee, from local business owners, or that specific individuals are recruited to work on sites. If no agreement is reached, they are known to disrupt operations or intimidate staff. CEO of the South African Forum of Civil Engineering Contractors, Webster Mfebe, joins me now to talk about this situation. So, Mr. Mfebe, good afternoon, and thank you for your time. The specialized units in the SAPS are not established willy-nilly, especially under the constraints that we are working with in terms of resources. I suggest that this speaks to the gravity of the situation that we are facing here, and you track it quite closely. Would you agree with me?
Yes, I do agree, Thulasizwe. The situation is grave, and the President has been consistent in condemning these practices for quite some time. If you track his SONA addresses, at each and every SONA address, he deals with this problem. And of course, this has an effect on the planned infrastructure rollout plan of the country, which is meant to lead the economic recovery. So if construction sites are disrupted, it means the economy of this country is disrupted, given the fact that construction has a higher multiplier, employment multiplier effect in the economy. It does not only affect direct jobs of those involved in construction, it also affects indirect jobs of those in the supplier chain, the manufacturers of steel, cement, bricks, and so on, but also it affects induced jobs because those who are gainfully employed are able to use that money to buy in the retail and wholesale sector. So if the construction site is disrupted, it has this negative ripple effect on the economy.
So last year, I believe it was, the Institute for Security Studies did a nice write-up, the basics of how the construction mafia works in South Africa. Therein, they quote your organization as placing the figure of the value of the construction projects that have been halted at one point or another violently at about 25 billion rand, and that figure, according to that write-up, was from 2019, and you were quoted as also talking to the impact on professionals in your sector. Are you able to give us an update in terms of the figures of the contracts that have been affected, but also professionals who, some of whom have had to leave the country?
Well, the information we had as far back as 2019, because most of this information is dependent on the cooperation of the construction companies to report these incidents. And not all of them do report these incidents. At some point in 2019, we had a figure of a total of 42 billion of sites that were affected by this phenomenon. And also this has had a very demoralizing effect on the professionals in the industry, some of whom decided to pack their bags for greener pastures overseas. And this exodus of skills does not augur well for the building of the much vaunted infrastructure in the country. It means that we have to rely on foreign skills to participate in our own economy. The problem is grave, but my take on this, I also wrote an article which was carried on the SACP MP magazine entitled Conquered and Incapacitated by the Construction Mafia. I have gone where eagles dare, meeting with business forums, trying to understand the reasons behind this phenomenon. And one of the reasons is very startling. It also reflects back on the construction sector to do a serious introspection where communities and community-based organizations are complaining about the attitude of construction companies that are operating in a particular locality, then which means that we, as the construction sector, have a role to play to recalibrate our attitudes in tune with the sentiments and the mood on the ground of communities and community-based organization in order to deal with this. No amount of policing and law enforcement will deal with issues that are very complex, some of which can be blamed on our side in terms of our approach. Some of them are socio-economic issues whose genesis lies in the non-delivery of services in communities, where communities have become accustomed to getting attention from authorities by being violent, banning schools, libraries, in order to get attention. This has now spilled over to the construction.
Lastly,
construction has become a new side.
I'm completely out of time, but I wanted to get a sense from your side of your confidence that this unit that is going to be established in the SAPS will be effective in pushing back against this particular construction mafia. And I imagine that we're not talking about one group here. It's possibly multiple groupings. While you are at it, talk to where exactly should this unit start its work? Where are the flash points in the country?
KZN remains the epicenter. In fact, it is the genesis of all this. It starts right there in KZN, and it's spread all over the country. And I think the unit will be very successful. It works with stakeholders, including engaging also, because some of these business forums are identifiable. Just to give an example, when it started, you could not see who to go to, and we met various groupings until they formed themselves into a legal entity under the name of the Black Business Federation. And I must say that the incidents have reduced quite drastically, and we engage with those young men, and they have moderated their stance, and they are operating within the law. What is happening is that you have a mushrooming of competing business forums who occupy that violent space. And in fact, if you would ask, did we have any success as SAPSEC in leading this? I say yes, because these people representing the interests of communities have also been taken in the development of malls where communities have been given a stake, and things are going right. For as long as this unit engages with the relevant stakeholders, including communities, we can make headway in dealing with this matter.
Let's leave it there. Thank you for your time and your insights here on eNCA.